March 59 CE. The Bay of Naples. Moonlight turns the water to liquid silver. A magnificent ship cuts through the calm sea, gilded ornaments catching the light, purple silk canopy rippling in the breeze, the kind of vessel only an emperor could afford. Only an emperor would gift. Agrippina the Younger stands on the deck, watching the coastline recede. She's 43 years old, still beautiful despite the lines that decades of survival have carved into her face. She's returning from the Quinquatria festival, 5 days of celebrating Minerva, goddess of wisdom and war. She celebrated with her son, Emperor Nero. The reconciliation felt genuine. For the first time in months, he smiled at her like he used to. Like when he was a child and she was the center of his universe. She felt safe. Mistake. The ceiling collapses without warning. Lead-weighted panels, designed to look decorative, crash down into the cabin. Agrippina rolls instinctively. Decades of surviving assassination attempts have given her reflexes most people never develop. The panels miss her by inches. Her companion, Acerronia Palla, isn't so lucky. The lead crushes her chest. She's dying, gasping, and then, in a moment of confused loyalty or desperate survival instinct, she screams, "I am Agrippina. Save the emperor's mother." The sailors respond by clubbing her to death with oars. That's when Agrippina understands. This isn't an accident. This is murder. And the sailors aren't rescuing anyone. They're finishing the job. The ship begins breaking apart. Not storm damage. Sabotage. The hull is designed to separate, to sink, to drown everyone aboard while looking like a tragic accident. Water rushes in. Chaos. Agrippina stays silent, understanding with perfect clarity. Her son has sent assassins. Her son, whom she murdered her way to making emperor, whom she controlled for 5 years, whom she loved in her toxic, suffocating way, he's trying to kill her. She slips into the water. Doesn't call for help. Doesn't identify herself. Just swims. Away from the sinking ship, away from the assassins in their small boats searching for survivors, toward the distant lights of shore. She's wounded, her shoulder dislocated from the ceiling collapse. Every stroke sends pain through her body. The bay is cold. She's 43, not young, wearing layers of clothing that drag in the water. She should drown. Nero's engineers planned for her to drown. But Agrippina has spent her entire life surviving the unsurvivable. This is just another night in the Julio-Claudian dynasty. She swims in darkness, listening to the assassins search the wreckage. Listening to them kill other survivors. Listening to the ship sink with Acerronia's body still aboard, the body they think is Agrippina's. Eventually, she reaches shore. Fishermen find her, don't recognize the bedraggled woman as the Empress. She reveals her identity only when she's safe in her villa, surrounded by what few guards remain loyal to her. And then she does something that makes Nero's blood freeze when the message reaches him. She sends a letter. Casual. Almost cheerful. "Dear son, I was in a terrible shipwreck. The gods protected me. I'm fine. I know you must be worried. Don't trouble yourself to visit. I need rest. Love, Mother." The message is perfectly clear. I know you tried to kill me. I survived. Your move. How did it come to this? How did the woman who murdered her way to making Nero emperor end up swimming for her life while he sent assassins? Let's rewind. Let's meet the most dangerous mother in Roman history. November 6, 15 c. Agrippina Julia Caesaris is born into Roman aristocracy's highest level and its bloodiest nightmare. Her lineage is impeccable. Her father is Germanicus, Rome's beloved general, Marcus Aurelius's golden boy, the man everyone expects to be the next great emperor. Her mother is Agrippina the Elder, granddaughter of Emperor Augustus. Her bloodline combines military genius and imperial legitimacy. She should have a glorious future. Instead, she gets a masterclass in survival. By the time she's 4 years old, her father is dead. Officially, illness. Actually, poison, almost certainly ordered by Emperor Tiberius, who saw Germanicus as a threat. Her mother, Agrippina the Elder, doesn't accept this quietly. She accuses Tiberius publicly, demands justice, refuses to be silenced. Tiberius exiles her to Pandateria, a barren island. Agrippina the Elder starves herself to death there rather than give Tiberius the satisfaction of execution. Young Agrippina, 8 years old now, learns lesson 1. Being good gets you killed. Being brave gets you killed. Being loved by the people gets you absolutely nothing except a target on your back. Her brothers fare no better. Nero Caesar, her eldest brother, not to be confused with her son, is arrested on charges of conspiracy, imprisoned, starved to death. Drusus Caesar, another brother, is imprisoned so brutally that he ate the stuffing from his mattress trying to survive before dying of starvation. By the time Agrippina is 13, her entire immediate family is dead. Father poisoned. Mother starved. 2 brothers murdered in prison. 1 brother remaining, Caligula. Caligula becomes emperor in 37 CE. For a brief moment, hope flickers. He's family. He's survived the same horrors. Surely he'll be different. He's not. Caligula descends into madness, or displays the madness that was always there, now unconstrained by need to pretend. He declares himself a living god. He has senators executed for trivial offenses. He empties the treasury on vanity projects. And he treats his sisters, Agrippina included, with disturbing, inappropriate intimacy. The historical sources, Suetonius, Tacitus, claim Caligula had incestuous relationships with his sisters. The accusations may be exaggerated by hostile historians, but they indicate something was wrong: boundary violations, sexual control, psychological abuse disguised as family affection. Agrippina learns lesson 2. Love and power are incompatible. Anyone who claims to love you is either a fool or using you. Trust is suicide. In 39 CE, Caligula accuses Agrippina of conspiracy. The charges are probably fabricated. Caligula is increasingly paranoid, seeing plots everywhere. Agrippina is exiled to the Pontian Islands. Her property is confiscated. She goes from imperial princess to impoverished exile in a day. She spends 2 years in exile. Cold stone cells. Inadequate food. Guards who could rape or kill her on imperial order and face no consequences. She's 24 years old, and she's survived her grandfather's paranoia, her brother's madness, exile, poverty, and loss of everyone she loved. She emerges from this with something broken inside her, or maybe clarified. She understands now, in Rome, being a good person is fatal. Being honorable is fatal. Being trusting is fatal. The only way to survive is to take power for yourself. Not to wait for protection from men, because men will betray or die or go mad. But to seize control so completely that no one can hurt you again. In January 41 CE, Caligula is assassinated by his own Praetorian Guard. Stabbed 23 times in an underground passage. His wife and infant daughter are murdered too, the baby's brains smashed against a wall. Agrippina is recalled from exile. Her uncle Claudius, stammering, limping, scholarly Claudius, the family embarrassment, has become emperor almost by accident. He's not threatening, not ambitious, just trying to survive. He recalls political exiles, including Agrippina. She returns to Rome at 26. She's survived everything. Her father, dead. Her mother, dead. Her brothers, dead. Her psychotic emperor brother, dead. she's still alive. And she's learned exactly what it takes to stay that way. Ruthlessness that looks like loyalty, manipulation that looks like love, and the willingness to murder anyone who threatens you before they realize you're a threat. She's ready. She just needs an opportunity. 48. Agrippina is 33 years old, twice widowed. Her first husband died naturally. Her second, Gaius Sallustius Crispus Picinus, died conveniently after updating his will in her favor. She has a son from her first marriage, Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus, 11 years old, who will later be called Nero. Her uncle Claudius is emperor. He's 60 years old. His wife, Messalina, has just been executed for treason after conducting a very public mock wedding to another man while Claudius was out of the city. The throne needs a new empress. Claudius has options. Several aristocratic women would marry him gladly. But Agrippina has something none of them have: ambition combined with imperial bloodline, and a plan that extends beyond becoming empress. She's going to make her son emperor, and she's going to use Claudius to do it. The seduction. The campaign begins subtly. Agrippina uses her position as Claudius's niece to gain access. She's family, so her presence at imperial functions is natural. She positions herself where he'll notice her. She's beautiful, educated, connected to the beloved Germanicus's memory, her father, Claudius's brother. Slowly, she makes herself indispensable. She discusses history with him. Claudius is a scholar, wrote books on Etruscan civilization. She demonstrates political acumen. She flatters his intelligence while subtly indicating that other women see him as pathetic. "You're so much more brilliant than they realize," she tells him. "They see the stammer and the limp and they miss the genius. I see who you really are." It's manipulation. It's also partially true. Claudius is intelligent. He's just been underestimated his whole life because of his physical disabilities. Agrippina offers him something intoxicating: recognition, understanding, and the promise of a partner who won't mock him. Within months, Claudius is besotted. The law change. But there's a problem. Uncle-niece marriage is illegal in Rome. Incest laws prohibit it. Claudius can't legally marry Agrippina. So Agrippina convinces him to change the law. In 49 CE, Claudius brings legislation before the Senate declaring that uncle-niece marriage is acceptable for the good of the state. The Senate, terrified of opposing the emperor, passes it. The law is so obviously tailored to one specific situation that everyone knows what's happening. Claudius is rewriting Roman law to marry his niece. Because she's that persuasive. They marry in 49 CE. Agrippina becomes Augusta, a title that grants her near-equal authority to the emperor. She's not just his wife, she's his political partner. Her image appears on coins alongside his. She attends meetings. She influences appointments. She's achieved power beyond any Roman empress before her. But she's not done. The adoption. Claudius has a biological son, Britannicus, age 8, the legitimate heir. But Agrippina has her own son, Nero, age 12. If Nero is going to become emperor, Britannicus must be displaced. Agrippina works on Claudius carefully, patiently. She argues that adopting Nero will strengthen the succession. He's older, more mature, and the adoption will unite different branches of the imperial family. She emphasizes Nero's education. She's had him tutored by Seneca, the best philosopher in Rome. She stages events where Nero demonstrates intelligence, maturity, competence. In 50 CE, Claudius adopts Nero. Legally, Nero is now Claudius's son and heir. Britannicus, the biological child, is displaced in the succession order. Agrippina has maneuvered her son ahead of the emperor's biological heir. It's a stunning political victory. But adoption only matters if Claudius dies before changing his mind. Before Britannicus grows old enough to challenge Nero's position. Before anything goes wrong. Agrippina needs Claudius to die. So, while everything is perfectly positioned, the mushrooms. October 13th, 54 C. A dinner at the palace. Claudius loves mushrooms, especially the boletus variety from the hills outside Rome. They're a delicacy, expensive, reserved for the emperor's table. Tonight's mushrooms are prepared by his food taster, Claudius. They've been selected by Locusta, Rome's most skilled poisoner, working for Agrippina. The poison is careful, some mushrooms clean, some deadly, mixed so that Claudius will eat enough poison ones to be fatal but won't suspect immediately. Claudius eats, enjoys the meal, compliments the mushrooms, then starts feeling ill. His doctor, Xenophon, also in Agrippina's pay, is summoned. Xenophon examines the emperor, declares he needs to vomit to expel the bad food. He shoves a feather down Claudius's throat, ostensibly to induce vomiting, actually to finish the poisoning. The feather is coated with more toxin. Claudius vomits, weakens, collapses. Within hours, he's dead. Agrippina moves instantly. She seals the palace. No one enters or leaves. No announcements are made. She positions Praetorian guards loyal to her throughout the building. She sends for Nero, briefs him on exactly what to say. Only then does she announce, Emperor Claudius has died tragically from accidental food poisoning. Long live Emperor Nero. The Praetorian Guard, well bribed with donatives Agrippina prepared months ago, acclaim Nero as emperor. The Senate, presented with a fait accompli and surrounded by armed soldiers, confirms the succession. By the time anyone realizes Claudius is dead, Nero is already emperor. Britannicus, the biological heir, the rightful successor, is sidelined completely. He'll be dead within months. Also poison. Also Agrippina's work, probably tying up loose ends. The masterpiece. Agrippina has committed the perfect crime. She's murdered an emperor, seized the throne for her son, and structured everything so perfectly that no one can prove she did it, even though everyone knows. Rome knows. The court knows. The Senate knows. But they can't act on knowledge without proof. And they're terrified of Agrippina. She's shown what she's capable of. She's shown there are no lines she won't cross. She's made her son emperor. She's achieved security for the first time in her life. She controls the most powerful position in the world through proxy. She's thought of everything. Except one thing. Nero. What happens when he grows up? What happens when the puppet wants to cut his strings? What happens when the monster she created decides he doesn't need his creator anymore? 54 C. Nero is 17 years old, newly proclaimed emperor. He sits on the throne wearing imperial purple, receiving congratulations from senators who months ago wouldn't have noticed him. And behind him, literally and metaphorically, stands Agrippina. She's not just the emperor's mother. She's the shadow empress. Her image appears on coins equal in prominence to Nero's. She attends Senate meetings, sitting behind a curtain, but present, influencing decisions. She receives foreign ambassadors. She signs documents. The arrangement initially works because Nero is overwhelmed, content to let his mother handle the tedious political maneuvering while he pursues interests, poetry, theater, music, chariot racing. He's 17. He wants to be an artist, not an administrator. Agrippina is happy to rule through him. This is what she wanted: power without the vulnerability of being sole ruler. She can control policy, eliminate enemies, accumulate wealth, all while Nero absorbs any blame for unpopular decisions. But she makes a fatal mistake. She doesn't see him as a person. She sees him as an extension of herself. A tool. Her puppet. The control. Agrippina's control over Nero is suffocating, invasive, psychologically dominating. She doesn't just advise, she dictates. She doesn't just influence, she commands. And she maintains control through multiple tactics. Emotional manipulation. After everything I sacrificed for you, everything I risked, I murdered my way to making you emperor. You owe me everything. You are nothing without me. Political leverage. She made him emperor. She can unmake him. She has connections throughout the Senate, the military, the Praetorian Guard. She could support a rival if he defies her. Isolation. She controls his access to advisors, friends, potential romantic interests. Anyone who might influence Nero in ways that compete with her influence is removed, exiled, reassigned, sometimes killed. The disturbing intimacy. The ancient sources, Tacitus, Suetonius, Cassius Dio, describe something deeply wrong in Agrippina's relationship with Nero. They claim incest, describe inappropriate physical closeness, suggest she used sexuality as a control mechanism. Whether literal incest occurred is historically uncertain and probably unprovable. But something was deeply dysfunctional, enmeshed, boundary-violating, designed to keep Nero dependent and unable to form healthy attachments elsewhere. She presents herself as the only person who truly loves him, whom he can truly trust. Everyone else wants to use him, only she wants what's best for him. It's textbook psychological abuse disguised as maternal love. The advisors. But Nero has other influences, ones Agrippina can't completely control. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, Nero's former tutor, now his advisor. Seneca is brilliant, widely respected, and he recognizes Agrippina's control as dangerous for both Nero and the empire. He carefully works to give Nero independence, to create space between mother and son. Burrus, Praetorian prefect, practical military man. He's loyal to Nero personally, not to Agrippina. He wants Nero to develop into a competent emperor, which requires escaping his mother's shadow. Together, Seneca and Burrus conduct a careful campaign to reduce Agrippina's influence. They suggest Nero doesn't need his mother present at every meeting. They encourage him to make decisions independently. They gradually build his confidence that he can rule without her constant oversight. Agrippina fights back. She accuses Seneca of corruption. She attempts to have Burrus replaced. She isolates Nero whenever possible, undoing the advisor's work. But the poison is working. Nero is starting to resent her. The suffocating control, the manipulation, the isolation, it's creating anger that builds underneath his compliance. Poppaea Sabina. The trigger is a woman. Poppaea Sabina, beautiful, intelligent, ambitious. Nero falls in love. Real love, or at least real obsession. Poppaea wants to be empress, which means Nero must divorce his current wife, Octavia, Claudius's daughter, married to Nero for political alliance. Octavia is young, blameless, popular with the people. Divorcing her risks political backlash. Agrippina opposes the divorce vehemently. Octavia's bloodline provides legitimacy. She's Claudius's daughter. Divorcing her insults Claudius's memory, weakens Nero's claim to the throne. But Poppaea offers Nero something Agrippina can't: freedom. Love without strings. A relationship where he's not controlled, not manipulated, not suffocated. Poppaea flatters his artistic ambitions where Agrippina dismisses them. Poppaea makes him feel like a man, not a child. For the first time, Nero has a reason to defy his mother. And more importantly, someone else is offering him what he wants while his mother stands in the way. The breaking point. One evening, Nero announces he's divorcing Octavia. Agrippina erupts. In front of the court, she tells him he's making a catastrophic mistake. That he owes his throne to her, that without her he's nothing, that he'll obey her or face consequences. Nero, for the first time, says no. The silence in the room is absolute. Mother and son stare at each other. Everyone present recognizes this as the moment. The break. The son has defied the mother. Agrippina's face hardens. You'll regret this. Remember who made you emperor. Remember what I'm capable of. It's a threat. Everyone hears it as a threat. And Nero, surrounded by advisors who've been telling him his mother is dangerous, who've been warning she might move against him, who've been suggesting she could support a rival heir, he hears it as a death threat. Maybe she meant it that way. Maybe she didn't. But it doesn't matter. Because Nero decides, one of us has to die. And it won't be me. 55 c. 1 year into Nero's reign. The palace becomes a battlefield, but the war is silent, invisible to outsiders. Agrippina and Nero no longer dine together. No longer appear publicly together. When they must interact, the hatred is palpable. The Senate notices. The court notices. Rome notices. And everyone waits to see who wins. The systematic destruction. Nero begins dismantling his mother's power methodically. First, he removes her Praetorian Guard detail. Without guards, she's vulnerable, exposed. The message, I can reach you anytime I want. Second, he orders her out of the palace. She must live in a separate villa. The symbolic separation is crucial. She's no longer at the center of power, no longer able to influence daily decisions. Third, he stops attending her audiences. The stream of senators and officials who visited her to curry favor dries up immediately. If the emperor doesn't respect his mother, why should they? Fourth, he removes her image from coins. The visual erasure is deliberate. She's being written out of the imperial iconography, out of official history. Fifth, he ends her Senate attendance. The curtained presence that gave her unprecedented influence is removed. She's barred from political meetings entirely. Agrippina is being systematically isolated, stripped of the power she spent 5 years accumulating. And she recognizes what this means. Nero is preparing to eliminate her. He's just removing her protections first. Agrippina's counterstrike. But Agrippina doesn't surrender. She threatens the one thing that still terrifies Nero, his legitimacy. She begins meeting with senators, hinting that Nero's claim to the throne might be questioned. She mentions that Britannicus, Claudius's biological son, was the rightful heir, that Nero's adoption was politically motivated, that perhaps there should be reconsideration. Britannicus is still alive at this point, 14 years old, approaching the age where he could rule independently. If Agrippina supports him as alternative emperor, she could trigger civil war. Nero's response is swift. February 55 CE. A dinner party. Britannicus is present. He's required to attend formal imperial dinners despite being sidelined politically. Food is served. Britannicus's food taster samples everything. Clears it as safe. Then Britannicus complains his drink is too hot. A servant adds cold water to cool it. The water is poisoned. Britannicus drinks. Within minutes, he's convulsing, foaming at the mouth, dying. Nero, sitting at the head of the table, continues eating. Britannicus has epilepsy, he announces calmly to the horrified guests. This is a seizure. He'll recover. Britannicus doesn't recover. He dies at the table, age 14, murdered with poison that works so quickly it must be Locusta's work, the same poisoner Agrippina used on Claudius. The message to Agrippina, I learned from you. I can kill as easily as you can. Your threats mean nothing. The mutual recognition. After Britannicus's murder, mother and son look at each other with complete clarity. They see the same thing, a killer. Agrippina sees her son as an ungrateful monster who's forgotten everything she sacrificed to make him emperor. who's throwing away her life's work for some pretty courtesan and his own selfish desires. Nero sees his mother as a suffocating parasite who's trying to control him forever, who'll destroy him if he doesn't destroy her first, who views him as a tool rather than a person. Both assessments are accurate. They also recognize something else. This ends in death. There's no compromise possible. No reconciliation. No peaceful resolution. One of them will kill the other. It's just a question of timing and method. The paranoia. The palace becomes a maze of suspicion. Agrippina takes antidotes daily, builds immunity to common poisons. She has food tasters, bodyguards, locked doors. She sleeps lightly if at all. Nero moves through the palace with guards, never eats anything prepared in kitchens his mother might access, never drinks wine she could have touched. He has nightmares about her, dreams where she's strangling him, poisoning him, having him arrested. The court navigates between them carefully. Senators who visit Agrippina are noted. Officials who report to Nero are suspected by Agrippina. Everyone is choosing sides while trying to appear neutral, because whichever one wins will remember who supported the other. It's unsustainable. The tension is poisoning the government, paralyzing decision-making, making Rome look weak to its enemies. Nero's advisors, Seneca and Burrus, finally tell him what he already knows. This has to end. Agrippina has to die. Not someday. Soon. And Nero, exhausted and terrified and desperate to be free of his mother's shadow, agrees. The assassination planning begins. 58 to 59 CE. Nero has decided. Agrippina must die. But it has to look like an accident. Matricide is one of Rome's most heinous crimes. Even for an emperor, openly murdering your mother would be politically catastrophic, possibly triggering rebellion. So Nero tries to kill her quietly, subtly, with plausible deniability. Repeatedly. Every attempt fails. Not through luck, but because Agrippina is who she is. Paranoid, prepared, unkillable. Attempt 1. Poison. The method, poison in her food or wine. The same technique she used on Claudius, the same method that's killed dozens of imperial family members throughout Julio-Claudian history. The execution, Nero's agents introduce poison into food sent to Agrippina's villa. Probably through a servant bribed or threatened into cooperation. The poison is meant to kill quickly but look like natural illness. The failure, Agrippina has been taking antidotes daily for years. Theriac, a compound of various snake venoms and medicinal herbs, designed to build immunity to common poisons. She learned this after watching Britannicus die, after realizing Nero had access to the same poisoners she once used. The poison makes her violently ill. But she doesn't die. She vomits, recovers, and immediately knows Nero tried to kill her. She sends him a message. Sarcastic. I was quite ill yesterday. I wonder what I ate? Fortunately, I'm feeling much better now. Thank you for your concern. The message is clear. I know it was you. I survived. Try harder. Nero is humiliated. The court whispers. He can't even successfully poison his own mother. If she's taking antidotes, poison is useless. He needs a different method. Attempt 2. The collapsing ceiling. The method, Nero's engineers design a mechanism in Agrippina's bedroom, a weighted ceiling panel that will collapse while she sleeps, crushing her. Architectural failure, tragic accident. The preparation, the device is installed while Agrippina is away from her villa. Heavy lead panels, carefully balanced, triggered by a mechanism that can be activated remotely. The engineers promise it's foolproof. The failure, Agrippina is warned. Possibly a servant loyal to her. Possibly her own paranoia. She inspects her bedroom carefully every night, looking for exactly this kind of trap. She notices something off about the ceiling, sees the mechanism or suspects danger. She changes bedrooms, sleeps in a different room. The ceiling collapses on an empty bed. When Agrippina sends word to Nero about the unfortunate structural failure, her tone is mocking. She's not even pretending this is accidental anymore. She's letting him know, I see your traps. You're not clever enough to kill me. Nero abandons subtlety. The next attempt will be elaborate, theatrical, perfect. A death so clearly accidental that no one can suspect murder. Attempt 3. The ship, detailed return to opening scene. The method, Anicetus, Nero's freedman and naval commander, designs an engineering marvel, a collapsible ship. The ceiling is weighted with lead. The hull has removable sections that will separate on command, causing the vessel to sink rapidly. It looks like a beautiful ceremonial barge, but it's a death trap. The setup: Nero invites Agrippina to the Quinquatria festival at Baiae, celebrating Minerva. He's charming, affectionate, plays the repentant son. Mother, I've been terrible. I'm sorry. Let's reconcile. She's suspicious but attends. The relationship has been hostile for so long that any warmth seems genuine by contrast. Nero gives her the ship as a gift. For your return journey. I had it specially made for you. She boards it, trusting, or at least having no better option. The execution, night. The bay is calm. Then the ceiling collapses. Lead panels crash down. Agrippina's companion, Acerronia Palla, is crushed. The ship begins breaking apart. Assassins in small boats are waiting to ensure no survivors, clubbing anyone who surfaces. The failure, Agrippina survives. She's wounded, dislocated shoulder from the ceiling, but she swims. In darkness. Away from the assassins. She's 43 years old, injured, swimming in the Bay of Naples wearing layers of clothing that want to drag her under. She reaches shore. Fishing boats rescue her, not recognizing the Empress. She reveals her identity only when safe, surrounded by what guards remain loyal to her. Then she sends Nero a message that must make his blood freeze. Dear son, I was in a shipwreck. I'm alive. I know you're worried. Don't bother visiting, I need rest. The absurdity and horror. 3 assassination attempts. Poison. Collapsing ceiling. Sinking ship. Each more elaborate, each more expensive, each more desperate than the last. And Agrippina survives all of them. The historical record presents this almost as black comedy. The unkillable mother, the son who can't competently murder her. The court is starting to whisper that Nero is incompetent, that he can't even kill one middle-aged woman. But underneath the absurdity is profound horror, a son trying repeatedly to murder his mother. And a mother surviving through paranoia, preparation, and refusal to die easily. After the ship sinking, Agrippina knows she's out of options. She can't flee. Where would an exiled empress go? She can't fight back effectively. Nero controls the military, the treasury, the administration. She can't appeal to Senate or people. They're terrified of both mother and son. Her only hope is that Nero loses his nerve, that someone intervenes, that the gods, whom she's prayed to all her life, finally protect her. But she's pragmatic. She knows what's coming. The next attempt won't be clever. It'll be brutal. It'll be soldiers with swords. And there's no surviving that. She waits in her villa. And she prepares to die with the dignity her life has rarely allowed her. March 23, 59 CE. Shortly after midnight, Agrippina's villa at Bali, near the Bay of Naples. She's alone. Her servants have fled or been dismissed. They can sense what's coming, and no one wants to be present when the emperor's assassins arrive. She's sitting with one maidservant, Acerronia, a different woman than the one killed on the ship. Sources are confusing about names, but Agrippina has at least one loyal attendant remaining. She hears them before she sees them. Boots on tile. Multiple men. Moving with purpose. Nicetas enters first. Nero's freedman, the engineer who designed the ship. Behind him, a squad of soldiers and sailors. They carry swords. No more elaborate traps. No more accidents. Just blades. Agrippina stands. She's 43 years old. She's survived her grandfather's paranoia, her brother's madness, exile, poverty, 3 assassination attempts. She's murdered her way to power, controlled an empire, made her son emperor. And now her son is sending men to kill her. The confrontation. Nicetas looks uncomfortable. Even for a professional killer, matricide feels wrong. He starts to speak, probably some formal accusation, some justification about conspiracy, treason, threats to the emperor. Agrippina cuts him off. If you've come to visit the sick, report that I'm recovering. If you've come to commit a crime, I won't believe my son ordered it. He wouldn't order his mother's murder. It's a lie. They both know it's a lie. But she's giving them an out, a way to frame this as rogue soldiers acting without imperial authority. Protecting Nero's reputation even as he kills her. Nicetas doesn't take the out. The emperor sent us. Agrippina's face hardens. She knows, has known for months, but hearing it confirmed is still a blow. Her son, her baby, the boy she murdered her way to making emperor. He wants her dead. The soldiers move forward. Agrippina's maidservant tries to shield her, is knocked aside. One soldier raises his sword, and Agrippina makes her final gesture. She tears open her clothes, exposing her stomach, points to her womb. Smite my womb. Or in some accounts, strike here. Or, ventrum feri, strike the belly that bore him. The final words. Whether these exact words are historical or dramatized by later historians, they capture who Agrippina was: defiant, theatrical, owning her identity even in death. The words are multiple things simultaneously. An acknowledgement: this womb created the monster killing me. A curse: may history remember that Nero murdered the mother who bore him. A final act of control: even in death, she's directing the narrative, ensuring this will be remembered as matricide, not accident. A gesture of contempt: strike if you must. I'm not afraid of you. The soldiers hesitate. Killing an imperial woman, especially the emperor's mother, even under orders, it's a violation of something fundamental. One of them starts to lower his sword. Nicetas snarls an order. The sword strike. Multiple wounds. Agrippina falls. Dies quickly or slowly, sources disagree. But she dies. The most dangerous woman in Rome. The Shadow Empress. The mother who poisoned her way to power. Dead in a villa near the Bay of Naples. Killed by men sent by the son she made emperor. The aftermath. When news reaches Nero, he reportedly insists on viewing the body. He examines his mother's corpse, comments on how beautiful she still is despite the wounds. Orders wine. Drinks. Tries to act casual, unaffected. He's terrified. Matricide is among the worst crimes in Roman culture. He's just crossed a line that makes him untouchable, not through strength, but through horror. Who can trust an emperor who murdered his own mother? His advisors construct a justification. Agrippina was conspiring to seize power, to assassinate Nero, to overthrow the government. She forced this response. Her death was self-defense. The Senate formally thanks Nero for his lucky escape from his mother's treachery. No one believes it. Everyone knows. Matricide. The word spreads through Rome like poison. Nero can never return to that part of Italy. Can never visit the Bay of Naples without seeing her. Later, he'll claim to see her ghost, hear her voice. The guilt will haunt him, not enough to stop him from murdering wives, advisors, senators, but enough to disturb his sleep. The legacy. Agrippina the Younger died the way she lived, violently, dramatically, defying anyone who tried to control her. She was a survivor who became a killer, a victim who became a monster, a woman who refused powerlessness in a world that gave women no official power, so she seized it through manipulation, murder, and maternal control. She deserved better than the world gave her, to be born into a bloodline that systematically murdered itself, to survive childhood trauma that would break most people, to navigate a political system designed to make women pawns rather than players. But she also created Nero, taught him that family means nothing compared to power, that murder is an acceptable political tool, that ruthlessness is virtue. And when he used those lessons on her, she had no moral ground to condemn him. She taught him too well. Her death removed the last restraint on Nero. Within years, he'll murder his wife Octavia, kill Poppaea, kicks her to death while she's pregnant, execute Seneca, burn Rome and blame Christians, become the tyrant his mother's education created. Agrippina poisoned Rome for her son, and in the end, the poison consumed her first. Epilogue. The Bay of Naples. The water reflects pink and gold from the rising sun. Fishing boats pull in their nets. Life continues. In a villa nearby, soldiers are cleaning blood from tiles, preparing a body for cremation. Agrippina the Younger will be burned without ceremony, without the honors due in Augusta, without the recognition she murdered her way to achieving. In Rome, the Senate is drafting formal thanks to Emperor Nero for surviving his mother's conspiracy. Senators who know the truth say nothing. Speaking truth to a matricidal emperor is suicide. And Nero sits in the palace, drinking wine at dawn, trying not to see his mother's face in every shadow, trying not to hear her final words, "Strike the womb that bore him." He's free. The puppet has cut his strings. The monster has destroyed his creator. He's also alone. More alone than he's ever been. Because the one person who understood him, who knew him completely, who shaped him, who loved him in her twisted, toxic way, is dead. By his order. He's won. And the victory tastes like ashes and blood and the mushrooms that poisoned Claudius all those years ago. Welcome to the Forbidden Archives, where the lesson is brutal and clear. If you raise your child to be a monster, don't be surprised when they turn on you. If you teach ruthlessness as virtue, murder as tool, family as disposable, eventually, those lessons come home. Agrippina the Younger was one of Rome's most dangerous women. She survived the unsurvivable. She murdered her way to power. She controlled an empire. And in the end, she died because she taught her student too well. The poison she created consumed her. The monster she made destroyed her. That's how empires fall. Not through external conquest, but through internal consumption. Families eating themselves. The strong devouring their own. Agrippina swims no more. The Bay of Naples is calm. But Rome will never be the same. The mother who poisoned Rome for her son has been poisoned by him in return. And the empire watches, horrified and fascinated, as the Julio-Claudian dynasty continues its death spiral into madness, murder, and inevitable collapse. Say her name. Remember her story. Learn the lesson. Or don't. History repeats regardless.